All right, folks, in today's video, we're going to be discussing T-Mobile and their 5G network plans. And I'm not talking about customer plans, as in the plans you go into the store or shop on the website or in the app. I'm talking about what they plan on doing in terms of moving forward into the future. Like, what do they plan on doing with the network? How do they plan on executing the build of the network? And the key premise here is that T-Mobile advertises themselves as the biggest and best 5G network. And I don't have a problem with that. I really don't care how a company chooses to advertise. The one area where I typically like to push back is I like to look at the facts though. All right, so you look at the network testing, you look at the network availability, there's all these data points and metrics we can analyze. And we know that T-Mobile actually does pretty well when it comes to 5G network performances. There are several things that obviously still lag relative to their competitors. So they probably between the big three, so T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. T-Mobile probably has the least amount of backup generators. They own the least amount of spectrum. They lease a large amount of areas of places where their capacity layer in N41 is fragmented. It's leased and owned by other companies. Their network's kind of a hodgepodge and it's complicated. In a lot of places, you'll see a huge variety of different configurations, and you're probably wondering, why isn't it more consistent in more places? And that's part of it, right? They've got all these things that they are constantly addressing and monitoring and trying to fix and make better. And all these things are happening, and their claim is 5G superiority, 5G leadership, and all these things. And I read these articles all the time and I see what the industry is printing, and then sometimes I'm like, this stuff doesn't really add up. I'm looking at the network spend, and T-Mobile still has not caught up to their competitors in network size and availability. And to me, the technology doesn't matter if the network is not available. Like, I have a friend who has T-Mobile and has been using it and testing it, and he also has AT&T access. He has Verizon access. He can test all the networks. And, he's been trying to test the T-Mobile Starlink coverage, and he says it's deplorable. He says it's unreliable. He was trying to use it in, it was like a cloudy, overcast day and it was raining and it didn't work. And he was disappointed in that because he thought it was going to be something that was going to give him some connectivity where T-Mobile's network wasn't available. And he literally went to a location where it isn't. And then in that same location, AT&T had full network data speed access, like 300 plus megabits down, 30 megabits up. It was like flying, a beautiful network experience. So where I'm going with this is they still have things that they need to address. Like, they're trying to do T priority, they're trying to get first responders, and there's still so many things that haven't caught up, and they're always talking about reducing their network spending. It doesn't make any sense. How do you lag in so many different things and then expect to be more competitive in the future? There's gonna come a point where you're gonna have to pay the piper for all the things that you're promising or saying, and they're not fulfilling those things. And look, it doesn't matter to me what they end up doing. I'm covering the industry. I offer my commentary. I try to be as objective as possible. Nobody has clamored for T-Mobile to be an ultra competitor more than I have over the course of the last 7 or 8 years that I've made content on my channel. But I'm not blind, and I wasn't born, last night, so like, I look to see if what they say is actually what's happening, and we're not seeing the network spend connect, between what their aspirations are or what their claims are. Unfortunately, there's things about their network that remain unfulfilled and need to be addressed in order for them to be on the same page in the conversation with AT&T and Verizon. And I don't care about those companies either. But I mean, how long can you pull the wool over people's eyes? And then people use the network and they're like, well, this didn't work. The Starlink texting didn't work. That's just a microcosm of what T-Mobile has promised and not delivered. and they've promised things and met those promises, and they've exceeded them in other segments. So they're not all bad. They've done things that are just fine and perfect and wonderful. But I mean, do we really need to reward companies for doing what they said they were going to do? Like, why would you reward a company for that? They said they were going to do it. They should do it. But when a company says that they're going to do it and then they don't, or they do it half-assed or incomplete or don't really fulfill it properly or execute it well, you got to hold these people accountable. So unfortunately, I think T-Mobile is going to have to pay the piper, and they're just going to have to kick up the network spending in order to make their network larger, more reliable, and letting the walk do the walking as opposed to the talk just do the talking. So you could be the 5G GOAT, you can have all these advertisements, you could do all this marketing, it's all great, and then real world usage ends up being something different. So I'm kind of hoping that the network spend improves a little bit. I know T-Mobile's been really laser focused on returning shareholder value. I wish they would pump the brakes on that and just get the network to where it needs to be. I'm not talking about, they're fast in, most of the metros. That's not the point. The point is their networks need to be what they say they are. And in some instances, it's just not. And they need to do a better job of that, because now they want to sell T priority to first responders, and they want to get government agency accounts, and they want to get public safety accounts, and they want to have, a larger addressable market and take share in rural America. You just have to spend more on your network, and you can't just make promises about 5G advanced and standalone networks. That's, if the hardware doesn't exist, then the network doesn't exist. What the hell does it matter if it's 5G advanced? What's 100% of zero? What's 1,000% of zero? If it's not there, then how are you as good as the other ones? How can you compete without actually competing? You can't just say things, you need to do things, and that's the bottom line. And I think T-Mobile would be wise to keep their eyes on the prize. They're still a wireless business. You want to buy fiber and do all these things. All I'm saying is walk the walk as you've talked the talk. And now that they're stomping with the big dogs and they're a big company with lots of customers, stop worrying about downsizing. Stop worrying about shrinking the workforce. Stop closing retail doors. Stop aggravating customers. Stop publicly talking about price increases, and just focus on your network and make the best network you can, so people can stop saying that they're still not as good as AT&T and Verizon. I would love the day to come where people are throwing their money at T-Mobile because their network is as good as AT&T and Verizon's across the entire country. That will be the day when we know that they've arrived. Anyways, what do you guys think about all this? Let me know. Respond to my comments. Excited to read what you guys have to say on it. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like and share. Check out some more of our videos. Subscribe if you're new here. We'll see you guys in the next one.